What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Members Only. Here you get the exclusive information that you can't get anywhere else on my channel or on the World Wide Web, anywhere. If you do hear this somewhere else, one or two things has happened. Either one, you're hearing it from one of my affiliates, either being, in case you didn't know, Wes Clark, the director, Naj, the admin, or someone has infiltrated the members only, sent one of their dummies over here to get the members only, and then get the information and bring it back to them so they can come to the mic and be like, oh, I got the exclusive, when they really just bid out stuff. All right? So if you're hearing this, welcome. You are getting the exclusive. So I want to talk about a situation that I got into prior before, but because no one was talking about it, I never really wanted to disclose the entire thing. But now, some years has passed. You always got to save some for the clip and save some for members only. And since this whole thing with Meek Mill is coming out, something that I told you guys was going on before, the reason for the whole exposing Drake, as the guy, as the guy that uses the writer and what have you. I told you a long time ago what it was initially about, and I told you who told me what it was about. So we're going to get into that first before we go into the rotation. And I call it the rotation because this was during the time after Nicki Minaj had broke it off with Meek Mill. But some things happened prior to her breaking it off with Meek Mill. Now, as we all know, Nicki was with Safari. She was with Safari from 2002 to 2014. And I think it was 2002 to 2014 she was with Safari, because I think she officially broke with him in 2014. But around 2012, she was already fed up with Safari. Around 2012 is when she found out that Safari was, remember she allegedly found the pictures of Amber Rose nude. That led to the big fight in Dallas. That's what that fight was about, was the Amber Rose pictures that he had in his laptop. That's why Nicki was trying to hold on to the laptop. And then they got to an argument. He was snatching the laptop away from her. And he snatched it away so hard, it flicked up and hit her in the face. And I believe busted her lip. So it wasn't Safari hitting her or punching her. He was snatching his luggage, and it, scraped her face and busted her lip. So that was over the Amber Rose thing. They got past that, but she knew at that point that he was probably, dipping around her. Then that's when Meek ratted him out about the porn star that he was seeing, and over at some party, effing her in a closet. So after Meek snitched him out, Meek ended up taking Nicki. Now remember, Meek Mills had tweeted back in 2010 or something like that, oh, I'm going to get Nicki Minaj one day or something like that. One day, I'm going to manifest Nicki, I'm claiming, and Nicki Minaj is going to be my girl one day or something like that. So actually, because he did that, Nicki ended up going off with Meek. Right? She was seeing him anyway, leading up into it. Then she finally broke it up with Safari. Now she's with Meek Mill. Her and Meek Mill, the relationship where it was always a point where Meek finally got Nicki Minaj, he couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it. I can't believe I got Nicki Minaj. And he's hearing everybody say, what is Nicki doing with Meek Mill? He's not up to her par looks-wise. He's not up to par with her status-wise. He's not up to par with her money-wise. Why would she want someone like Meek Mill? But Nicki was holding it down, staying with Meek, right? Then the whole Drake situation comes up, a situation that started, and we all know it's a beef. That's you started. The whole thing started. Like I told y'all back in my past video about the real reason Meek Mill and Drake was beefing. I told y'all back then I was about when was that beef? 6 years ago? 7 years ago? I told y'all back then what it was about. And at the time, I told y'all who told me what it was about from his own mouth. That was Beanie Siegel. Had a conversation, and Beanie Siegel told me that this is about Drake. So, the whole thing with that happens. They end up splitting up because Meek Mill, of course he was abusing her because allegedly, he's allegedly abusing her because he was insecure. And he would control, what she wears. He would not, he would always have her hanging around his guys. But then when he had her hanging around his guys all the time, he would be like, oh, no, you can't wear booty shorts. You can't wear that skirt. That skirt's too short, Don't be in a robe when they come over. He would make her put on jeans or T-shirt, whatever, right? So she could only dress a certain way when it was just him around. And as we all know and remember she had the lap dance as a part of her routine. He made her cut all that out. So he built a wedge between her and Wayne, right? So, and of course, her and Drake. Her and Drake wasn't speaking. And her and Wayne really started. She brought Wayne out one time. And Wayne, at the end of that, was like, yeah, I'm not feeling this at all. At all. Whatever. I'm cool with me. Him and Drizzy right now, at the end of the day, I'm rolling with my son. I'm rolling with Drizzy. You know what I mean? I'm rolling with Drizzy. At the end of the day, we a family. You know what I mean? So, I'm rolling with Drizzy. So he didn't really speak with Nicki, for a few months. Almost a year until they rekindled their relationship, their business relationship. Now, she breaks up with Meek. Remember, her and Meek, and I told y'all back then that there were fights. There were fights, and someone just came out and confirmed it. One of Meek's boys came out and said he used to witness the fights, but there was fights that took place between those two. And the guy even said on his tape that Meek Mill spit on Nicki Minaj before. All right, so, but once Nicki broke up with Meek, she found out that Meek was giving money to some chick to start a business of. She thought at first it was Bernice Burgos, but it turned out to be the one who ended up being his baby mother. Oh, no. Sorry. It was another chick from Detroit he was giving money to, right? And he had met through Trick. So he was giving money to a girl from Detroit. It's one of these girls that's on Tubi right now, I believe. I believe she be on Tubi. She from that little Detroit clique or whatever. And she was starting up a boutique. He gave her the startup money. At the same time, he was seeing Bernice Burgos, allegedly. So Nicki Minaj finally broke it off with him. Now, mind you, shortly after that, her house gets robbed. Once she broke it off with him, he kept trying to get back with her. He said, I ain't going nowhere. He tried to play the I'm not going nowhere role. You have somebody come throw me out and this, that, and the third. Now, Nicki has already called Drake for his birthday. That was October. Her and Meek didn't officially break up, I think, till January. So she's already having communication with Drake. He finds that out, and they get into another altercation, right? So, and on top of that, they're both even more higher now than they was before. Now, Nicki did pills before Meek, and so did he. But when they were together, they were like Bobby and Whitney except it was the pills. They were always high, allegedly, and always fighting, either fucking or fighting. And, he was upset at her because his career was now starting to look at, you on your girls tour, you're not even on your own, and he was taking that out on her. Because people were saying because of what happened with the whole back-to-back, that whole back-to-back situation almost ruined Meek's career. So he's blaming her for that, right? Because it's because of the Drake situation that they even got into this fight. Now, the rotation starts after she breaks up with Meek. Well, as her and Meek are going down the last 3 or 4 months relationship, Nicki has found out. She's just trying to find a way to end this. Now she knows this trip is coming up, so that's where she planned on ending it, right? They had a trip that they were planning to go to this villa in Trinidad, and Nicki knows that she knows her way around Trinidad and Tobago way better than Meek does, and she knows people out there. So her whole thing was to, once she gets out there, she's gonna, deny him from coming on the island. And that's the way he found out. So at this point in time, she's now started to contact Nas. Right, she's contacting Nas now. And of course, her and Wayne and Drake, they're all planning to get back together. Now, this whole entire time, Quavo has been after Nicki Minaj. Like, Quavo's been after Nicki Minaj since, 2008. Right? It was actually Quavo and Offset. I'm just going to keep it real. Before Offset met Cardi B and stuff like that, I'm not talking like a year before. I'm talking years before. I'm talking 2008, somewhere in there, 2009, 2010, like when the Migos first dropped. I don't really know when the Migos dropped, but around the time they first dropped. I believe they first dropped around 2008. They didn't really, their breakout single wasn't to about 2012, 2013. I think that Versace was like their first breakout single. But they've been around a long time. Since 2009, 2008, 2009, somewhere in there, Quavo and Offset both was feeling Nicki Minaj. Quavo ultimately kept with it, Offset stopped or what have you. But Quavo always wanted Nicki Minaj. So he knows that she has now broken off with Meek Mill. And even though him and Meek are cool, Quavo's like, hell, you a free woman. Now, there was rumors that he was talking to her while she was still technically with Meek, but they were having issues and they were pretty much on the outs. Now, at the same time, she has now contacted Nas. Now, her and Nas are old, she's always had like a crush on Nas. Nas, a little older than Nicki. He's the Don from Queens, the king of Queens, what have you, so, king of Queensbridge. So, they had always had with him. Remember, he was in her video back in the day or whatever. They had the little kiss scene or whatever. So, Nas was always, we got a chemistry. That's obvious. That's obvious. We got a chemistry, but, Shorty got a man, She already got a king. I'm not trying to have that on my conscience. I'm not trying to, mess up what she got going on with her king. So, yeah, if that situation ends, then, I'm right there. I'm right there. It's clean up. Right? So, She pretty much, after she broke up with Safari, she didn't contact him. Now remember, now she went from Safari to Meek, but now she's done with Meek, and he is she's contacting Nas now. So they got into their little situation. Now remember, she's in a situation with Nas, but Meek is still trying to get her back, right? And she's talking to Quavo, stuff on the side. Quavo sending her little gifts, shit like that, right? But they still have not really linked up. But Quavo is pouring it on. He's like sending her little things, that and the other. She finally, when she was seeing Nas, because her and Nas didn't really make it official until a few months before they broke up. Because they were seeing each other heavy, but they were like dating. I mean, Nas was seeing this nurse. I don't know her name, but Nas was seeing this nurse at the time. And of course, he always had his thing, with Mary. Mary don't like Nicki. And Nas had his little friends with benefits thing with Mary. That's been going on for years. And, he once upon a time, his soul, he always said his soulmate was Lauryn Hill. Him and Lauryn, that's his soulmate. But as years went past, her and Nas, then they were no longer involved, physically anymore. But, he would talk to Lauryn, and he respect what she says and what have you. And allegedly, as I told y'all before, when he got with Nicki, Lauryn didn't give her blessings. And that was one of the reasons why he was like, yeah, the queen, she's hardly ever wrong. And she's saying she don't see it, she don't see it. So, she didn't like Nicki for Nas. And him and Lauryn was real close. Right? So they finally made it official. They hadn't even slept together. Right? And the ironic thing is, right when she went on Ellen and she was like, oh, I'm celibate, or I want to have a sleepover and another. She had ironically, allegedly, according to a person I spoke to, they had just slept together like prior, like maybe a few days or whatever prior to her going on Ellen. Right? So they make it official. But the whole entire time, Meek Mill, behind the scenes, Meek Mill and Nas is getting into altercations on the phone. Meek is calling Nas, trying to threaten him. Nas is laughing like, you're funny. You're funny. But then look, I'm not you young. I'm not fighting you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna destroy. I'm not gonna do that to you. You definitely don't want this. This is something you don't want. He's like, my fighting days are over, right? He's like, I'm a boss. So eventually Nas and Nicki with the whole Lauryn Hill situation, and then she knew he was fucking Mary. But she didn't care about that, like, because him and Mary was like, they're always on and off, or whatever, right? Mary got that situation with a couple of people, but her and Nas just been doing it the longest. Now, again, we know how the Quavo situation came out, right? But all of that was that Nas pretty much was like, I'm not going to be arguing back and forth with another black man over no woman. And he's like, then you seem to be entertaining, because now remember, even after everything that happened, Nicki, she was going to forgive Meek. She had actually forgave Meek. She, from what I heard, told Meek she forgives him. Right? And they were going back on good terms. And she was thinking about getting back with Meek. But then, other situations happened. He flipped out about Quavo when he found out that she slept with Quavo. And then She was just like, you know what? The temper or whatever, I thought he may have changed, but he's still the same. And it just ain't gonna work out. So that's when she pretty much cut Meek off for good. She ended up meeting back up with Kenneth Petty, during the turkey drive or whatever. The rest of that is history. But for a while, Nicki had a little rotation going. And of course, Drake always wanted to be in there. So at that time, that's when him and her was really falling out because he's like, "Oh, you just taking everybody over me, so the pussy just hopping over me." You know what I mean? So that's when Drake, especially Drake, was up there. That's when he was up, and he was like, "Fuck you!" Like I don't. This ain't. I'm not the same old Drake. You know what I'm saying? Girls chase me now. I don't chase girls no more. They chase me. Like I'm him. You know what I mean? I'm him. So, and if you don't want to get on board with it, that's your loss. You know what I mean? So that was the mentality Drake started taking on. And he got to a point where he's like, yeah, I'll fuck. If she gonna ever give it up, I'll fuck. But it's not like how it used to be. Like, oh, I love Nicki Minaj. I tell her I admit it. It's not like that no more. You know what I mean? Because he feels as though Nicki did him dirty too many times where she was like, yeah, if I wasn't with someone, you'll see, if I break up with such and such, we'll see, you never know. You never know. Holding him on a string. And he was like, you ain't never have no intentions on making me your man. So that's what was going on, man, with the rotation. Nicki Minaj had him lined up, but Quavo, he probably came out of it looking the best because he went and put the record out first before Nicki could say anything, and he had all the receipts and everything lined up. And Quavo would have put out a tape because allegedly he's got a tape of him and Nicki. And so did Safari. But Nicki was like, you put that tape out, it's gonna be revenge. I'm revenge porn. You going to jail. Like if you put out a tape on me, on Nicki Minaj, like she had the lawyers already contact them. Like you have any tapes or whatever, and give them up. They all will talk. I don't know. We don't have it. Deleted it. Lost it. What have you? And the lawyers was pretty much like, if that comes out, we're gonna hit you with revenge porn. Right. So I don't know whether they ever confiscated the tapes or not, but I know them tapes have not come out. So, whoo, juicy. All right, man. That's it. Members only. It was a long one, but I wanted to get that information out to y'all.